The balance 40% being your money too. Yeah. Only that you are the custodian and the trustee of it, not the owner of it. तो तेजाब में अनिल कपूर बोलता है डायलॉग कि माँ के पेट से तेजाब नहीं पैदा हुआ था. No builder is usually opening up a project with the intention to dupe. ऐसा नहीं. You need a guide here who knows the inside out of his story and the story of the neighbors around.
So, Vijay, last podcast we spoke about the Chakravyu, how the father and son, Arjun knew how to get in and get out, while Abhimanyu couldn't get out because he knew only half the plan and he paid for that with his life. And you nicely compared this to how to exit the right real estate investment. If we put that, say, a first-time investor who's interested in getting into real estate, आपके हिसाब से how does one identify the right property to invest?
Ideally, getting into the Chakravyu and coming out of it is the whole business, right? It is completely what the business is all about. So I don't think one podcast can cover all of this, but let us understand it as I want to get into the Chakravyu for once. What is the armor I need to take in?
Yeah.
What exactly do I need as weapons to make sure that I go in, I achieve that first step. That is rightly identifying the property. Yeah. I will give you a typical math about how to approach this as we move. But before that, I would want you all to understand that it first starts with what is your ability to put money. एक तो है कि the ability that you presume you have, which is coupled with fear and the fear of the unknown, etc. Which does
and ambition also.
Ambition, yeah. It could be ambition, which adds up to greed, or it could be fear, which adds up to making you defensive.
Yeah.
But there is the road you need to trot upon, which is more organic and logical from purely the finance background. So, to gauge your worth, आपकी औकात क्या है, ये आपको अपने आप को पूछना है. While we have never wanted to buy property before, our lifestyle is different, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have the expenditure, what's the lifestyle? If you don't have statutory expenditure beyond rent and electricity, then you would like to go every evening for a beer if you can afford that. You would like to go with friends. You would like to spend, splurge, go occasionally on those websites and buy clothes, etc. But now that we want to make ambition, want to make aligning our future, want to make passive income a part of our lives, you need to realign, right? So let us assume that we intend to do this. How do we do the realignment? Whatever your salary is, stereotypically 60% of it should go in your well-being. 60% आपके पैसे का आप अपने फैमिली के ऊपर बेशक उड़ा दो. This is a thumb rule. It could mean 50%. It could mean 60%, depending on what salary you have coming your way, how fortunate you are, how hardworking you are, how God is, how kind God is to you. Per se, as a thumb rule, 60% is judiciously your money which you should spend.
Expense.
I look at it as the balance 40% being your money too.
Yeah.
Only that you are the custodian and the trustee of it, not the owner of it. It is for you and your children's future. It is the grasshopper and ant story. You are a grasshopper, now you choose to be an ant. Does that mean that the ant keeps needing to hoard in the burrow alone? No.
Yes.
She lives, but she keeps some stuff for the rainy day. If you are at the age bracket of 28 to 30 years, I presume a lakh rupees per month or a 12 lakh rupee CTC or probably income to you to spend is a judicious amount to presume. So for starting this live example, 40,000 is what you get to invest, And 60,000 is what you get to spend. You live a modest lifestyle. You might have a space on rent. Your spouse might be chipping in. Electricity, life is kind. You will live. I want to presume at this age, 40,000 at this level should not be a difficult task. Now, what does this 40,000 get you? It gets you roughly at the 28 years of age, a 30-year exposure with a 8.5% interest as of today. You can conveniently assume that you will get in the tune of 60 lakh rupees from the bank. Which would mean that if that be the case, first things first, you need to get an in-principle sanction from the bank. Second, all of this while, what have you saved? Has to go in. Because the bank will be happy to fund you if you have some contribution of your own. Which would also involve statutory payments like stamp duty and GST, etc., if applicable. Having said that, if you want to go larger volumes, if you like something better, it obviously means you need to tweak southwards your daily expenditure, probably put 50,000 rupees to get something more. But I would not advocate ruining your present for the future. You need to find the balance between being defensive and being overambitious. So for starters, you can do this. See, it does not necessarily mean that if the markets are booming, you need to buy the most lavish things. You buy in the same area, lesser square foot of area. So at least the theory of exit remains intact. Why I say that is the moment you go into non-ambitious ambitious areas which are non-proven but have a lot of stories for the future. I've always explained that. I've explained it last time as well, that there is no scarcity. There is abundance because it's a new area, like a Karjat, like a Virar. There is enough available there. So as an investor, you'll not be able to flip your property. You'll not be able to exit. And that's where the Abhimanyu Chakra comes to play. So it's best to stay in downtown. If at all you need to compromise on the size. But be in a self-sufficient, exhausted area.
Understood.
Which means Bandra to Borivali for me.
But how do you define that downtown? And what according to you is the downtown?
So an Oxford dictionary meaning of downtown would be something which is, for us it is Sobo. Everybody says South Bombay is downtown.
That's what I thought,
Everybody logically feels that way. For me, the definition of downtown is a self-sufficient suburb which is landlocked completely, does not have too much scope, does not have too much land to, generate residential or commercial units out of. That is, for me, something that's downtown. There is nothing. So either you go and buy something in resale or wait for something to go upwards because there is no land available. So that defines scarcity. That keeps you safe.
And it should be well connected. It should.
Demographically, Bombay has enough infrastructure in terms of connectivity, right? You have so much of connectivity even in Karjat, even in all the way to places like Kalamboli, there's connectivity, local trains running. That's not what we are looking at. We are looking at more plush, more fuller areas where there is immense amount of excitement, where there is internal movement and external movement coming in, and it's an envious spot. You need to be in a spot which is envious, as in scarce.
So in this process, I have identified my downtown. I have identified my aukat, so to say, and I have a number. And if I have a suburb in mind, what is my next step?
Once you have figured out the number in your mind and it fits the bill of the territory you want to be part of, then the next step is identifying the developer, identifying the project, if so to say. You remember the last time we spoke, so you said then, and I told you then there are developers and then there are developers. No developer predominantly wants to open up something to close it. No one wants to be labeled. It's only timing sometimes when things get rough. This is what I want to believe. तो तेजाब में अनिल कपूर बोलता है एक डायलॉग कि ये तेजाब माँ के पेट से तेजाब नहीं पैदा हुआ था. No builder is usually opening up a project with the intention to dupe you. ऐसा नहीं होता है. But there are a lot of things starting with emotionally, starting with ambition, which he oversteps, or the market conditions. Sometimes even the statutory norms, trouble him or her, and things may get into the rough weather. अब मैं ऐसी सिचुएशन में आपको एक इंसानी सच बताता हूँ. It's human trait again, just like I discussed the fear of the unknown. I am absolutely in love with you, SV, and so are you. You know, this is how we've been living for a few years, and everything is good. As much as I say that I will die for you, on the D-Day, when God gets you to the cliff with me and says, one of you needs to die, you will push me. That's again a human trait. So you tell me, if the developer gets stuck, for what joy will he fall in love with you? And he'll say, I'll push you. If he won't. And you would do the same thing if you were in his place. It's called survival instinct, which is a human trait. So I don't blame them for the situations they get in. Now, that is the point I want to bring out, that make sure that as much as possible, you choose a developer who doesn't seem to be going that way. Now, if a developer in a good market where adjoining areas are offering something at 50,000 rupees, he's offering at 35,000. It's great. It's very tempting. But what is the problem in taking a day out and figuring out why?
It's too good to be true.
Sometimes, yes. But sometimes he genuinely needs the money. Right? He genuinely needs the money. That's where the structure comes into play. And that's what I said in my earlier podcast. You need a guide here who knows the inside out of his story and the story of the neighbors around. So if you have a developer who is regionally well bred, stick to him. Don't go to a developer who's trying this area for the first time. Why? Someone who has been in this suburb, developed a few complexes, and you look like he has good taste, aesthetics, will not want to ruin his brand image. That is the first simple step. Your broker needs to be intelligent. He needs to be regionally well-read. That is very important. I've been seeing of late, because of the digitization, a lot of brokers from all around the place are selling property all around the place. How? How does he understand the demographics of a certain suburb? I have been advocating Khar Bandra from the beginning. Extends till Juhu, because these are those allied suburbs which are absolutely linked to Bandra, and to my knowledge, they are plush. I like to be in that space, and I'm well read about those spaces, and I love to talk about them. I talk for hours about.
You're born and brought up in Bandra,
no? Bandra boy. I'm a convent-bred Bandra boy, so I like to talk about these spaces only because I have ventured enough. They are jungles, but well known to me. So, you should have a developer who's been through the thick and thin of the growth of that suburb. You also need to be with a broker who's guiding you, who has definite knowledge about that suburb. This is the first step. Then after that, you need to understand what is the skin of the developer in the game.
What do you mean by that?
That is another, So the developer, when he develops a building in these already exhausted areas, can only get it through redevelopment. Right. So he would probably book up an old building, and we'll come back to that later about redevelopment and things like that. But for the sake of knowledge, redevelopment means a small building on a land parcel is broken down, and by virtue of the liberty the BMC offers you, you can raise twice or thrice the size of that land. Every land has different cultivation strength, if I may say so. Certain land may raise down and go twice as much. Certain can go up 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. There are certain norms governing these.
Understood.
So we need to understand that. And you're not going to get that knowledge instantly. Your broker needs to know that. We also need to know how much of this has been cleared by the developer himself. In simple terms, how much money has he put in the land? You intend to buy a 5 crore property from a developer who goes in for a project which is going under redevelopment, signs off with the old tenants of the old building, has put a couple of crores, and you sign up 3 to 4 crore rupees with him. on a product he has only put 2 crores, and then it's a 7 up, 7 down game. Then you could better play that in Mahabaleshwar. Why do you want to play it in Bandra at such big odds? So go there at Mahabaleshwar, they play it at very outside Mapro Gardens, right? They put it in a tumbler, and so if the dice says what you betted, you get double. So you rather play it over there with smaller odds. So if he has put decent amount of skin in the game, and to me it is 50%. My thumb rule says that if he is about 40 to 50% in, then he better close the project. मैंने आपको एक टास्क दिया है इंग्लिश चैनल स्विम करने का, आधे रास्ते जाके आप थक गए, अब आप क्या करोगे? वापस आओगे?
नहीं, आधे रास्ते पहुंच गई ना.
तो उस बिल्डर को अगर थकना भी है, आधे रास्ते बाद थकेगा, तो he will still move towards that side. Pushing you out of the cliff is out of question. So please secure yourself in these aspects. Learn, ask. The most important thing is modest investors, first-time investors are so scared, they look at developers like demigods or big devils. They don't ask them questions. What's the harm in asking questions? You're buying stuff, right? When you ask how and why, it is progressive. When you don't ask how and why, then your knowledge will die. And how will you move? आप चलोगे कैसे आगे गेम में? Then again it becomes an uninformed decision. So उसके पैसे लगे होंगे तो वो इंग्लिश चैनल स्विम करेगा ही करेगा. That is a modified rule. So this is how you identify your locale, identify your developer, identify how much skin he has in the game, and then at the micro, you need to identify the plan. The house you're taking these days, because of the lack of the planning freedom that is given due to constraints of the municipality, RERA, BMC norms, etc., etc. Sometimes the planning is compromised, and when the product really gets ready, nor the developer nor the buyer is very happy with it. So you have to have the basic ability to envisage how it would look on the floor. So get a floor plan, envisage it. You cannot have a door opening into a bathroom, right? दरवाजा खुलते ही bathroom आ गया, kitchen आ गया, या bedroom पहले आ गया, hall बाद में आ गया. You cannot.
How does a first-time investor know when is the right time to exit?
You need to know how it runs. Fortunately, unlike the stock market, it does not have so many dips and so many rises so radically. It's a typical 4 to 5 year bare minimum cycle. There is a logical rise, and that is because of inflation, labor, cement, brick, mortar. Holistically, real estate is a commodity. So we always have that 8 to 10% annual support on such commodity, on every commodity. And so it obviously has a positive spillover on your real estate. आप अगर एक goldsmith हो, you have a jewelry shop, and today you put gold का jewelry on your store. अगर बिक गया, you make a profit. अगर नहीं बिक गया, तो if you see the trends, आप वैसे ही एक साल बाद कुछ टकों से अमीर हो ही जाते हो. नहीं भी बिकता है तो ठीक है. So real estate is similar to that. At the end of the day, it gives you something that goes. And I want to believe that the sudden spurts are always a time to exit. You are in the business of real estate. You don't get married to every property, because if you do, then you can't marry another time, right? It's only when you sell can you buy another one, because we have limited income. We have limited money to park in assets like these. So it's best to keep churning. Any time is a good time, as long as your greed, your appetite is satiated. You must flip the property. If you still love it so much and you want to wait another year, you have got the possession, put it on rent. You will get 2 to 3% bare minimum return on such rentals. But like I said, it's always good to exit. When you buy something under construction specifically, you will always have 2 logical times to exit. If assuming that you bought something at the plinth level where the building is just starting to rise up, your first exit, to my knowledge, should be sample flat.
Okay.
Sample flats are the first initiative the developer makes consciously to target the end user.
Yeah.
An end user seldom buys at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because he wants
Yeah.
to at least have some deja vu of what his unit is going to look like.
Yeah.
बराबर है?
Physical vision.
Appearance
और-
कैसा होगा
Yeah.
and this and that. इसलिए आप देखोगे कि सैंपल फ्लैश बहुत बड़े ग्लैम शैम
वो-
से बनाते हैं, फिर जब असली प्रोडक्ट आता है बोलते हैं यार this is the bald version of that smart dude I saw, you know, ये तो टकलू है. So but and then उसमें एक कैविएट होता है कि यार जो दिखाया गया वो पूरा पूरा ऐसा नहीं होगा, पर पूरा पूरा कैसा होएगा वो भी it's politically correct, but this is how it is. But still they want to enter at a sample flat level. That is the first time. तो अगर आपने एक एंट्री लेवल पे इन्वेस्ट किया है उस वक्त, out of every 5 buyers for the builder, potential buyers, 1 would probably be a daredevil end user, 4 will be investors.
Yeah.
जब सैंपल फ्लैट बनता है और ये जनरली 3rd 4th फ्लोर जब बिल्डर का बन जाता है, he has a decent height to the building, he makes a nice sample
Yeah.
flat. Typically for a Bandra project which is about 1000 meters, ये स्टेज करीबन 1.25 साल में आता है. तो आपने पैसा लगाया जनवरी में, तो नेक्स्ट मार्च 15 महीने के बाद शायद वो सैंपल फ्लैट के स्टेज में पहुंच जाता है. That's when you can take your exit for the first time. So you can look at exiting there. And वो स्पॉट आता ही है क्योंकि डेवलपर भी सैंपल फ्लैट इसी इंटेंशन से बनाता है कि इस माइलस्टोन में मैं भाव बढ़ाऊंगा.
Yeah.
अगर डेवलपर भाव बढ़ाएगा ही नहीं,
Yeah.
so you will not get an exit, right? Unless he doesn't make his unit 100 rupees, you will not be able to sell it at 95.
Yeah.
And if you want to sell it 105, why will they buy from you? They will buy from the developer.
Yeah.
So your trajectory northwards is always pegged to your developer, which again explains the fact that he should be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
If he is short on money, then he could probably discount the product
Yeah.
much more than what he sold it to you for. Then you
Yeah.
have a problem. So this diligence I've already covered that you need to do. Now, the money, the contractual margins in my definition is only available in under construction. A basic trend under construction to finish, where the product generally is finished in 3 to 4 years, is roughly about 25% to 30%. So you always have that covered because the developers, like a check fair in an airline, the developer keeps increasing the price, and that's how he achieves the average.
Industry.
He has to start a project below predominant market prices to attract investors. Why will I buy something under construction if something of similar value is readily available? Why will I take that risk? Unless he doesn't discount the product, I will not. Then at a certain level, he reaches here. Then he ambitiously tries to overtake the price of the neighboring building, and rightly so, because his becomes a fresher, a more modern, and a more younger building.
Yeah.
So he achieves what he has to, and in turn you achieve what you have to. So the sample flat is the first time, and then after that, the next step should only be when the complete building is actually in front of you, with the popular word these days, OC. Yeah, so OC is something which has now been doing the rounds for a while. OC होना चाहिए. हालांकि बॉम्बे में there is a lot of buildings which don't have
Yeah.
an OC. It's not too much of a stress. Some banks are resistant to give you
Yeah.
funding, but people are living. People are living there. But why get into all that?
No, but if I like an area that does not have an under construction building, then
So I think this again is a big class, but I will tell you in short. If you do not want to address the situation as investment is good under construction, go one step, tweak yourself one step down. Buy something in a 30 to 40-year-old building minimum. You could go up to 50 if you're lucky. Without the lifts, those mosaic tiles, buy them in Carbandra, Santa Cruz. They are available much more cheaper. And there is no way they will not be picked up. More than 60% of this area has been developed. One of the first buildings to be developed under the umbrella TDR, पहले building गिराने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती, side से pillars, was my very own building, Sarkar Avenue in Santa Cruz. One of the first ones when this law came. So earlier the law said no raising down the building, you can just put pillars if you have enough space in the compound.
yeah.
Again, it was governed by a BMC norm, but you could just simply go up. So we were probably one of the first buildings who from a 2-bedroom became 3-bedroom while living in it. But these days the buildings need to be raised, it's mandatory because the age of the building also matters, right? So it's a good norm. Try to target those buildings. They come at a smaller ticket. They're usually 1 and 2 bedrooms. So when they go down, you have an additional bedroom to yourself. You usually get 25-30% extra from what area you are living in. give it on rent for a while and make sure you are picked up, are looked upon. If someone spots you and takes you. Now, someone spotting you and taking you, unfortunately, or rather fortunately, in Bandra Car Center was not difficult.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
there are very few, right?
Yeah.
60 buildings are standing up and exhausted. 40 buildings are standing small. You'll always identify them.
Yeah.
And if all is good, you're not going to be there as an old building. Some good Samaritan, some good developer will pick you up because of the scarcity of such units. If I'm a Bandra builder and I want to make something, I only can do so by achieving this from demolition of old buildings.
Yeah.
So this is one more module for the old school. For those who say under construction risk hai and this and that, then you can be party to a family of people who are all in it with you, and you get a little more strength, right? You're not alone.
Yeah.
You have 12, 15, 20 other members who are wanting to be there and hoping that the new building will come up. The law is in their favor, RERA is in their favor, the judiciary looks with them with empathy. वो डेवलपर को इतना साइड नहीं करते. These are all proven. अभी उतना खराब नहीं है. Developer doesn't take anybody for a ride. He doesn't intend to, trust me. I have been through a lot of developers. I told you about that Anil Kapoor dialogue. They don't come out from their mother's womb as cheaters. No, they don't. None of them are. But circumstantially, they have to become that way, and you blame that on survival instinct. Don't judge them. But I will tell you one more thing about the risk of buying the under construction properties, which you need to understand. Maybe you have a 2, 3, 4 year horizon of risk till the product is from there completed and given to you. But the first time you put rupees 5 lakhs as token amount to a builder to buy a 5 crore property or a 1 crore or 2 crore property, and he issues you a receipt with a flat number there of an approved flat, he is more at risk than you are. Because just like you are worried after paying 5 lakhs about the fate of the building, he is worried about the fate of your finances. At that moment, at that particular time, you have to give the credit to the developer that he is trusting and hoping that the balance money comes to him. And you have a receipt in your name. So a God-fearing, a law-abiding developer cannot go out there and sell it a second time. So it works both ways. Unfortunately, the developers have been shown in bad light all the time, and we see them as a one-size-fits-all theory. Sabhi aise hai, but aisa nahi hai. So he is the one who's having the first move of faith. Every trade has logic, law, judiciary, and a pragmatic technique to do it. But it also has faith.
Yeah.
When I pay you as a grocery guy and I tell you mere ghar mein ye anaj pahuncha dena, I'm believing that aapne sahi hisab se bhej. It's a trade, and faith governs everything. So the first mover of that faith is the developer.
Yeah.
So he needs to, receive that positivity that you will pay him, and he issues you a receipt. So give them that credit. And, at the end of the day, if all goes well, you're both on the same side. He too wants to finish that building because he has a lot more than you in that game.
Yeah. Okay, to summarize then, picking the right property to invest depends on, firstly, your appetite to invest, identifying the downtown in your area, and figuring the exit strategy. If it's in an under construction building or you want to go the other way, that is, pick an old building and maybe see if it goes.
At least with the Bombay atmosphere. Yeah. This is predominantly to Bombay. These are all developed premier cities.
And all these are strategies that will work.
If all remains constant, they do not go bad. It cannot. Like I said, there are micros, there are lawyers, there are brokers, advisory. Your case study on it needs to be perfect. And please treat this as a commodity. You will catch the bull called inflation by the horns. Number one. Number two, it is going to be driven by inflation, if not sentiment. Number three, in worst case scenario, out of the 8% the bank is charging you for their exposure, 3 to 4% of rental covers you over there. So if you have bad times like COVID where no one's buying anything, you still can maneuver through these things. Real estate, if judiciously bought, will be your story. You will be betting on your story. You will not be betting on someone's story in the stock market driven by someone else.
Yeah.
This will be by you, for you, of you. On that note, real estate is scarce just like any other commodity. Please go out there and buy it. Any time is a good time.